Hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my name is Michael and today we'll be learning how to do simple 2D animations from an asset sprite in Unity 2017. Here's how it should look like, more or less, when it's finished. So this is the idle animation, moving right, moving left. You may be wondering what exactly do I mean by asset sprite. Well, traditionally when doing 2D animation, you make a sprite sheet like this one. In here you have all the animations made frame by frame. However, an asset sprite, by contrast, is a breakdown of a character into its most basic components. This breakdown will help us animate the character in Unity. For now you can download the asset sheet from the link in the description. In a future video we will see how we can easily make a character like this one in Photoshop and prepare it for an asset sheet. Okay, so you might be asking, what is the advantage of doing the animation like this? Well, the answer for that question is there are advantages and disadvantages. An obvious advantage for this is that you end up with a much smaller sheet than having all your animation made frame by frame. Another advantage would be that in many cases that means much less work for you, as we will see. A disadvantage would be that you cannot do very complex characters or very complex animations. Okay, so with that said, let's get started. Okay, let's start by creating a new project in Unity by pressing new. Let's call this project 2D animation. Simple. Let's make it a 2D project and press create. Right, the first thing we do, for the sake of organization, we will create a new folder in our project window and we will call it sprites. In this folder we will bring our character asset sheet and our reference character. Okay, so now we can get started, and first we will add our reference character so we can more easily build it from our character sheet. Make sure you are on the scene view and drag your character into the scene. Okay, we might want to rename this to reference character, and maybe we want to center it. In case you have big gizmos, you can just modify their size from up here, and we'll just make them smaller, and we'll make it just a little bit transparent. In our hierarchy window we'll create an empty game object. We'll call this character. Underneath this we will create another game object called character rig. This is mainly to separate all the animation part of the character to its other properties. This is good for a number of reasons, but we will see one of them later on. Okay, so now we need to prepare the character asset sheet. If we select it in the project window and go to the inspector, we can see that is set as a sprite to the UI, which is good, and if it's not, you can just click on it and select sprite 2D. On the sprite mode we need it to be multiple because we have multiple images inside it that we will need to use. Okay, hit apply. Now we go to sprite editor and another window will pop up, which is the sprite editor window, and now we need to define in this image. So the easiest way to do it is to go to slice, leave it on automatic and press slice. So once we've done it, if we click on different parts, we can see that Unity split up the image for us. For example, this is the body, but as you can see, Unity predicted that these are two different images and we don't want that, so we will just delete one of them, and if we zoom closer we can extend this other one. Okay, same for this one. We don't want two of them, it's only one eyelid. We just extend this one. Okay, and for the sake of cleanliness, let's name each of these pieces. Right, so after we've finished naming them, we can just press apply and close the window. So now if we look in the project window under the character sheet, we can press this little arrow here and we can see all of the parts that we have just created. Now we make sure all of these are set to 0 as its position, so it's perfectly in the center. Underneath the character rig, let's create the body. So we go to 2D object, sprite, we'll call this body. And now because we've created a sprite, in the sprite renderer we have this column called sprite, from which we can choose the character body. Okay, so now we'll position it exactly working with the character reference in the background. As you can see, we have a little problem here. So we cannot see the character reference anymore. So that is because the layer on which the character reference is in the background. All we need to do is go to the character reference and put here order in layer 1. We will use this extensively later on. Now let's continue. Okay, next, so under body we will have all the other components except the legs and the hands because they are not connected to the body. There we go. So under the left eye we'll put everything that makes up the left eye. So let's start with the actual eye and go to 2D object, sprite, and call this eye. And let's go to sprite, choose character eye, and place it. You can also zoom in and place it exactly where it needs to be. Okay, under the eye we have the pupil, so we go right click on the eye, to the object, sprite, here we select pupil and it's already in the right place. Yeah, let's call it pupil. Okay, under the left eye we also have the eyelids, so we'll create a new object because we don't have only one eyelid, we have multiple types of eyelids. We create an empty game object called eyelids, and under this one we will create our first eyelid. We go to 2D game object again, sprite, we choose open eyelid, we place it, say we name it open eyelid, and we'll do the same for the next 3 ones. Done. We also want to add the eyebrows. Let's call this. Okay, so we have the eyebrows. Okay, so as you can see, is not in the right position. Luckily, the sprite renderer has some options under here, which will let us, for example, flip this image. So we can just say flip on the x-axis, and there we go. We have it exactly how we need it. Right, now that we're finished with the left eye, we can just duplicate by pressing Ctrl D, and now let's rename it right eye, and let's move it onto the other side, and all we need to do is flip back the eyebrows and reposition it for this particular eye. Right, now let's do the mouth. So right click on the body, create empty game object, let's name it mouth, and under it let's create a 2D object sprite and choose our first type of mouth, which is half open, just so it be like in the character reference. Let's call it mouth half open, and let's position it. Actually, let's position the mouth, the entire tree of the mouth, so it is aligned here. Then we wouldn't have to reposition every type of mouth in it. We just create a new one. For example, I'm going to create another 2D object, sprite. This is mouth closed, and let's choose this one. As you can see, it's already where it should be because we've positioned the entire tree down. And also let's create the open mouth open. As for the sake of cleanliness, let's put it up there and choose the open mouth. Let's create the hands and the legs. So under character rig we go create empty, call it hands. Let's create here a 2D object sprite. Let's call it left hand. Choose the sprite for it. Let's position it onto the left hand. Let's duplicate it with Ctrl D. Let's call this right hand, and let's position it onto the right hand. Okay, now let's create an empty object and call it legs or feet. Let's create under it, let's call it the right foot. Create a new 2D object, sprite, left foot. And let's create the right foot as well with Ctrl D. Let's call it right foot. And there we go. Now we can hide the character reference sheet. Well, it doesn't look very good. And why is that? Because we will need to place each of those parts on its own layer so it renders correctly. Okay, so first of all, let's start with the body. And if we look in the sprite renderer, we have something called sorting layer. We'll just create a new sorting layer here by pressing add sorting layer. We go to the plus icon and let's call this character. There we go. We've created that. We have to go again and press on the body in the hierarchy, and now we can choose it from from the drop down menu. We choose character. There we go. And we will set the body of the character as the default 0 layer. And from here on we can make certain adjustments. For example, the right hand is going to be in the back, so we go to the hand and say right hand. We're gonna put it on the layer -1. The left hand is gonna be in the front if we would have to move it, and so we will put it on layer 1. Same with the feet. Right foot is in layer -1. Left foot is on layer 1. There you go. Now for the face. Okay, so we have the mouth. We select all of them and we'll put it on layer 1. Just make sure to actually select the sorting layer as well. I forgot here. So let's go back and select the sorting layer for feet and hands. There we go. And now for the eyes, it's gonna be a little bit more complicated. So let's put the eye on layer 1. Let's put the pupil on layer 2. And let's put the eyelids on layer 3. There we go. And let's just deactivate all the other eyelids except the open eyelid by selecting them and then pressing right here in the top, which makes those hidden. And let's put the eyebrows. It's gonna to be on layer 4. There we go. Repeat the process for the right eye. Pupil 2. Eyelids 3. We hide all of them except the open eyelid. Eyebrows 4. And there we go. We also should be doing the same thing for the mouth. We let only the closed mouth on and we deselect the other ones. And that's it. We've prepared the character for animation. Okay, this is the end of part 1. If you like this video, please press like and maybe share. If you want to see more content like this, please press subscribe, and if you have the possibility, please consider supporting me on Patreon from just $1 a month.